Hey team, welcome to the video update for this week. Let me just start by saying how amazing Sunday was. We set goals this year as a church to have over 300 people at just any normal Sunday service, and to be 3 Sundays in and to see 321 people show up is just amazing. And so it taught me a lot, and it made me realize that we're not dreaming big enough. And so we're going to keep dreaming, and we're going to keep digging ditches. We're going to keep trying to figure out, okay, God, what do you want us to do with this church? What do you want us to do next? And so there's actually a few updates in this video about that. But first, let me start by talking about our worship candidacy. As you guys know, we brought someone in on Sunday, and they played for the team at 7:45. And then hung out the rest of the day. And overall, it was a good experience. We've gotten 3 candidates now, and Alan was the better of the 3. And so we are in a space where we're just going to keep digging into that and trying to figure out, not just talent-wise, but personality-wise, is he the right person for it? And so we have a second candidate coming up on February 17th. We're going to do the same thing that weekend. We'll have a small little setup on Saturday for an hour, and then Sunday morning he'll come in, he'll play at 7:45, go to the first service, and hang out in production during the second service. And so once the second candidate comes in and comes through, our goal is to make a decision by the end of February with how we're going to move forward, whether it's hiring one of them or just kind of digging in where we're at, or whatever next steps that might be. And so just be praying for that as we continue to navigate that decision. It's tough. You either ask a family to move to a new city, or you tell people that, hey, this isn't the right fit, which emotionally is always tough, even if it's true. So just be praying for that. Like I said, February 17th, we'll have another guy up here, and it'll be our last one for what we think will be the considerable future. So the next thing I want to talk about is what we call better before bigger. This is something that I work our leaders through every January, where we'll sit down and talk about how do we make Collective better, so that we can get bigger. Because our goal isn't just numbers, it's to do our best to create environments where people can experience Jesus. And so through January, I've sat down with the leaders of groups and environments, and we've talked about what are some things that we want to do better in 2019. And this comes from a story from Chick-fil-A with Truett Cathy, where when Chick-fil-A wasn't quite blown up all over the place yet, and they felt that tension of what do we do, and Truett Cathy said, if we get better, people will demand we get bigger. And so that's how we want to approach church. We don't want to get bigger for the sake of getting bigger. We want to get better. And our hope is that as we get better as a church, and better connections, better production, better follow-up, better kids, as we do all those things, people will keep coming, and they'll demand we get bigger. And that's kind of what led us to adding a second service, was that we kept doing our best to be the best church possible. And there became so many people that we actually had to add a second service. And so our goal is to keep pushing in that way. And so some of the things that we're going to start working on, and you'll feel this in your environments, or you'll hopefully feel this overall as we try to make systems and processes and all that stuff better, coming up, include a few things for each environment. And so I'm just going to list a few of them, but your environment team leader will actually follow up with you this week about some of the things that you guys are going to work on. But here's some of the big things that I think are going to be really cool coming up. For Collective Kids, one thing that we're going to be working really hard to do is add a second-time guest gift for kids. We have t-shirts for the adults, and so our goal is to find something really cool. It probably won't be a t-shirt because kids grow out of them, but something really cool that we can give to the kids that are back in Collective Kids when they come back for a second time. We're now tracking our first-time guest kids for the first time ever, and we donate to a local charity when they show up, but we also want to make second-time guest gifts a part of that as well. When it comes to production and band stuff, we're going to work really hard over the next few months to figure out how do we just bring more energy on a Sunday morning. Now, we're not going to do like weird churchy dance flag stuff, anything like that, but just trying to figure out a way, how do we make our service the best flow possible? Because right now we have some really high highs, and we bring it down, and we bring it back up, and so our goal is just to kind of create a more consistent moment throughout the beginning and end. That could include MCs or music. We've talked about removing barriers between us and other people while we worship, which would be like music stands and stuff like that. And so we're going to be working on that in a pretty big way. When it comes to connections, one thing that we're going to do is we're going to replace the tent. If you're on Connections, you're probably very happy right now. The tent has served a great purpose to let people know this is the front of our entrance. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to buy some massive flags to be out front, something that stands out even more so than the tent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a new tent that isn't bent and falling apart. And we're going to figure out a better way to utilize that, whether that's in the summer when our lobby's full, we push people outside for first-time guests, or maybe we start doing something on special Sundays where on the way out people can grab something or talk to someone, or someone new can go to the tent, like that kind of thing. And so our goal is to make the tent better and not just a sign, but something that we really utilize each week. There's a bunch of other stuff that we're going to keep going through. We are talking about the potential of an app by the end of the year 2019, but only if it's great. We're talking about developing a teardown team so that we can get out of there quicker. We're talking about fixing the pallet wall if you're on Connection, something a little bit less deadly, better email follow-up, something that's a lot more engaging in that front. I keep looking to my right because I have a list over there. We're talking about better use of social media, better ways for directors to communicate from space to space, all of that. But your team will follow up with the app. But here's the thing. We have one huge Better Before Bigger that we're going to kick off in the next few weeks that I think will really change for the better a lot of things that we do on Sunday morning. So if you were there on Sunday and you came to first service, it felt like a normal service. If you came to second, you realized that something crazy was going on. And what we've realized since we moved to two services is that the balance is way off. We'll average about 50 to 55 adults at first service and 120 to 150 adults at second service. And that's because our times. When we went to two services, instead of changing our service times up, we just added a 9 o'clock. And what we did is we didn't give people the opportunity to choose. So if you were a 10:30 person, you just stayed at 10:30 person. And we're feeling that tension right now. We're feeling it in parking. We're feeling it in kids. We're feeling it in worship, where the imbalance is so high that it's almost like we have two different churches going on Sunday morning. And so starting at the end of March, and specifically the first weekend will be April 7th, we are changing our service times to 9:30 and 11. Now here's the one big thing with that. We are not changing when we get there for setup. And the reason why is because most of us feel that tension on Sunday morning that we don't have enough time. And so we're adding in 30 minutes before our first service. That'll give us more time to set up, do our best to have a breather. A big piece of that as well is we are developing a breakfast team. And so every Sunday, our goal is to have hot breakfast, but to actually have time to eat it, unlike some of the weeks in the past. And our goal is to get some of those 10:30 people down to 9:30 to fill up those seats while creating more space at our 11 o'clock service. We recognize that that's going to push teardown back about 30 minutes, and we are working really hard to make sure that that doesn't actually happen. We know if we finish church by noon, we should be able to be out of that school by 12:45, and that's why we're developing a teardown team. We're going to change up the way we do the trailer a little bit. We're going to utilize that room down in Connections more to make teardown faster, so that changing our service times doesn't mean we're getting home later on in the afternoon. And so that's our goal. We're going to be working through it. We have really all summer to figure out before football season kicks back up, so be patient, all you football fans, mostly just DJ because he wants to watch the Jaguars lose, but whatever. But guys, we know that in order for us to continue to grow our church and to continue to fill that space, the biggest thing we have to do is fix our service times. And it comes down to when we first went to two services, I should have changed them because it would have gotten people to choose and we could have encouraged people to go to 9:30. But because we didn't, we feel that tension now, and I want to relieve that. I know that will make a huge difference in kids. And I know Connections will feel the same way in production as well, specifically the band during first service when just a few people are in there. So feel free to post any questions you have, talk to your environment leaders. This is going to be exciting. We'll talk about this on Sunday coming up. It'll be a big announcement sometime in February as we gear up for that, and then eventually lead into Easter. So you guys are crushing it. Thank you so much. We never would have to make some of these adjustments if you guys weren't so good at creating space and inviting and bringing friends and family. And so in the best way possible, you can thank yourself. But we're excited to see this change and see what it can do. Because guys, ultimately our end goal is to not be portable anymore. And in order for that to happen, we have to fill up both services. And so we hope that this change will be a big difference and a big step in that. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday as we finish up musicology. See ya.